Madison Square Garden. Right now, this is the holy temple of soca. Reverend brothers in attendance, dearly beloved, we are gathered here tonight for one thing and one thing only, that is to get out of hand. Now, I want everybody, I can't see anybody, I want everybody now stand up. Everybody now stand up. Everybody now stand up. Caribbean people, stand up. American people, stand up. I put your hand in the air. I put your hand in the air. Now everybody say, give praise, children. Give praise, children. Give praise, yeah. Give praise, children. Give praise. Give praise, children. Our Father who has given us His heart so that we can all feel like we are part of this earthly heaven. Amen. Forgive us this day our daily weakness as we seek to cast our mortal burdens on your city. And what you say? Amen. Oh, merciful Father, in this bacchanal season where men lose their reason, but most of us just want to whine, have a good time because we're looking for a line, because we're feeling fine, Lord. Amen. As we jump up and down in this crazy town, send us some music for some healing. How will you say? Represent everybody. Well, everybody hand raise. Everybody give praise. Everybody hand raise. And if you know what I mean, put up your finger. Know what I mean? Put up your hand. If you know what I mean, put up your finger. If you know what I mean, then scream. Oh, oh, oh. Give Jah His praises. Yes. Oh, oh. Let Jah be praised. Oh, oh. The Father in His mercy. Send a little music to make we vibration raise. So on this good night, come. Everybody come and celebrate. Push it up, push it up, push it up. Everybody come and celebrate. Ragamuffin, see the ragamuffins congregate. Oh, everybody come and celebrate. And everybody sing. Well, let me hear you sing. Well, let me hear you sing. Our Father who has given us His heart so that we can all feel like we're a part of this earthly heaven. Will you say? Amen. Forgive us this day our daily weakness as we seek to cast our mortal burdens on this painful city. Will you say? Amen. Tell me for life. On this lovely day when we come out to play and we come out to sway and we breaking away, some will say what they have to say, but only you know the pain the people feeling. People, what you say? As it was at the beginning of Juve, good vibes still Carnival Tuesday ending. How will you say? Push it up, push it up, push it up, push it up, everybody. Everybody hand raise. Everybody give praise. Everybody hand raise. Praise. If you know what I mean, put up your finger. Know what I mean, put up your hand. Know what I mean, put up your finger. Scream. Oh, oh, give Jah His praises, yes. Oh, oh, let Jah be praised. Oh, oh, the Father in His mercy, send a little soca to make we vibration raise. So on this good night, come, everybody come and celebrate. Okay, oh yes, everybody come and celebrate. All you ragamuffins too, come, see the ragamuffins congregate. Oh, everybody come and celebrate. And everybody singing, hey, 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 hey. And country, yeah. Well, let me hear you singing. Hey, 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 hey. I'm feeling irate. Well, let me hear you singing. Hey, 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 hey. I love the country, yeah. Well, let me hear you singing. Hey, 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 hey. This cool. Well, let me hear you say yeah. Say yeah. Oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh. I want to rock my soul. 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 Hey, give us some of the music. Put some of the music. Put some of the music. Put some of the music. Bonga de, bonga de, bonga de, bonga de, bonga de, bonga de, regadinga, 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 regadinga. Thank you very much, God bless you. Good night. Night for one thing and one thing only. That is to get out of hand. Now, I want everybody, I can't see anybody, I want everybody now stand up. Everybody now stand up. Everybody now stand up. Caribbean people, stand up. American people, stand up. I put your hand in the air. I put your hand in the air. Now everybody say, give praise, children. Give praise, children. Give praise, yeah. Give praise, children. Give praise, children. Our Father who has given us His heart so that we can all feel like we're a part of this earthly heaven. Amen. Forgive us this day our daily weakness as we seek to cast our mortal burdens on your city. And what you say? Amen. Oh, merciful Father, in this bacchanal season where men lose their reason, but most of us just want to wine, have a good time because we're looking for a line, because we're feeling fine, Lord. As we jump up and down in this crazy town, send us some music for some healing. How will you say? Represent everybody. Well, everybody hand raise. Everybody give praise. Everybody hand raise. And if you know what I mean, put up your finger. Know what I mean? Put up your hand. If you know what I mean, put up your finger. If you know what I mean, then scream. Oh, oh, oh. Give Jah His praises. Yes. Oh, oh. Let Jah be praised. Oh, oh. The Father in His mercy. Send a little music to make we vibration raise. So on this good night, come. Everybody come and celebrate. Push it up, push it up, push it up. Everybody come and celebrate. Ragamuffin, see the ragamuffins come today. Oh, everybody come and celebrate. And everybody sing. Hey, 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 hey. Well, let me hear you sing. Hey, 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 hey. Well, let me hear you sing. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, 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 oh. Hey, 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 hey. Ire. Our Father who has given us His heart so that we can all feel like we're a part of this earthly heaven. What you say? Amen. Forgive us this day our daily weakness as we seek to cast our mortal burdens on this painful city. What you say? Amen. Tell me for life. On this lovely day when we come out to play and we come out to sway and we breaking away, some will say what they have to say, but only you know the pain the people feeling. People, what you say? As it was at the beginning of Juve, good vibes till Carnival Tuesday ended. How will you say? Push it up, push it up, push it up, push it up, everybody. Everybody hand raise. Everybody give praise. Everybody hand raise. praise. If you know what I mean, put up your finger. Know what I mean, put up your hand. Know what I mean, put up your finger. Scream. Oh, give Jah his praises. Yes. Oh, let Jah be praised. Oh, the Father in His mercy, Son in His Son, God, to make we vibration. So on this good night, come, everybody come and celebrate. Okay, oh yes, everybody come and celebrate. All you ragamuffins do come, see the ragamuffins congregate. Everybody come and celebrate. And everybody singing, hey, 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 hey. I love the country, yeah. Well, let me hear you singing, hey, 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 hey. I'm feeling irate. But let me hear you singing, hey, 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 hey. I love the country, yeah. Well, let me hear you singing, hey, 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 hey. This cool. Well, let me hear you say, yeah. Say, yeah, ho. Yeah, yeah, ho. Yeah, 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 ho. I want to rock my soul. 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 Hey, put some of the music. 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 Rock the day. Rock the day. Rock the day. Rock the day.
They're going to jail my tail because the ERC is about to report me that I am desecrating Christianity. Get something and wave. Get something and wave. Amen. As a little boy, I used to go and peep dance at Tipperary Hall. And 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning when they wind it down, they dance. Amen. 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 The ERC will report them desecrating Christianity, blasphemy. Good evening to you all and welcome. That was King David Rudder. King David Rudder giving us high mass. Tonight we have a big cast. We have Ceasar, we have Sister Novella Noble, we have Apostle London is going to join us, and maybe later we're going to have Dr. Adams, who is going to join us. So buckle up tight. We have a lot to talk about tonight, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to Politics 101. Yes, they're gonna jail my tail. For playing blasphemous music. Afraid them. In the old days, Chalky said them three blind mice. And they're gonna share the live, share the link. We are ready to roll in a couple of minutes. Welcome to Politics 101. All of you.
If I lie, ask Kamal about the bacchanal down at the convention when Ivan asked Williams, Doc, why Venezuela don't want me to smelter? Doctor, can you tell me why Jamaica vex with me? Eric say, tell Manley and Burnham I've got oil. Let Barrow kiss me tail, oil don't spoil. Three of them come like three blind men. Don't you know? Manley, Burnham, Barrow. They're running about only setting strife, cutting their tails with Venezuela's knife. Did you ever see such jackasses in your life as them three blind men? Ivan said, look, doctor, didn't you ask Venezuela for warships to help we in the 70 mutiny? From Barrow we get rum, from Manley aluminum, Burnham feeding we with rice, yet you calling him a blind mice. Eric said, let Burnham keep he rice, I've got oil. They will have to pay my price, oil don't spoil. Three of them come like three blind mice. Don't you know? Don't harm a road. I treat them like if they were my wife. I give them money like peas by Christ, but it's my own throat they're trying to slice. Them three blind men. So true. Goodbye.
This is very good.
Them three mice do not know is I have them on the toe. Food for them to be fed. Without me, all of them dead. Is my people have to toil to give them pitch and oil. Yet they back in Venezuela and don't want my land to smelter. Eric say, they value my money as dirt, but I've got oil. 80 cents they say it is worth, but oil don't spoil. They remind me of them three blind mice. Don't you know? Manley, Burnham, Barrow. They go beg me again for what I have, but this time I'm going to make them starve. To get my dollars, they best think twice. Them three blind mice. If I lie, ask Smiley. Both of us met Manley, traveling from St. Lucia. We met him in Grenada. I told him what the doc said. Manley blurt out right away, tell Eric he has not died, for he has blind men at his side. Manley said, them three deputies that he have is the oil. Three spineless men of straw have been spoiled. Three of them come like three blind. Manley call, Kamal Chambers error. Anything the doc say is right for them. The three of them are really yes men. Did you ever see such rat-tailed men in your life as them three blind men?
Kaiso, three blind mice. Dr. Hollis, Liverpool, the mighty chalk dust. Them is Kaiso. Them is Kaiso. You know, back in the 70s, some of you are too young. Wayne, Caesar, too young. Novella, too young to remember them story. Me and Doc gonna remember them story. Apostle, too young. But, you know, Eric Williams wanted to use his oil and gas back then, power, and Guyana bauxite, Jamaica bauxite, to set up a smelter plant. But Manley and Burnham and Barrow didn't bother with it. They decided to go and get cheap power from Venezuela. So according to the Kaiso, Eric Williams said the three of them can't see my vision. They're three blind mice. Belchalky said he was traveling from St. Lucia and he met Manley on his way to Grenada, and he tell Manley what the doc said, and Manley said, three blind mice. He get three blind mice. Eric Williams had three deputy prime ministers: Kamal Mohammed, Errol Mohabir, and George Chambers. And Manley said, them is the three blind mice, because everything he said, that, yes, sir. Yes, doc. Yes, doc. Them is the three blind mice. There is the Kaisonian singing on the premier leaders of the region at the time. At the time, Eric said the three of them is three blind mice, and Manley said he talking about three blind mice. He get three blind mice as three deputy. We got three blind mice in Guyana right now. Barat, Orphan, Barat, Orphan, Anil. The three of them is really blind mice. They don't know where they're taking the country. Them is the real three. Chuck is still alive. And I think I have his number somewhere. I'll call him. Dr. Liverpool, I want you to sing an update on the three blind mice. Because we get them. They're blind like a Bartimus. Are you young people who know that term Bartimus? Blind like a Bartimus. The three of them blind. Old people are big people. Not old people. Because we're not old. We're big people. Big people. They're blind like a Bartimus. They're blind like Bartimus. We independence. Venezuela is at the door. And they're going and party in Anna Regina. And then when they're done partying in Anna Regina, they're going and party in Albion. They're going and party in Albion. Oh my God. Oh my Jesus. Oh, God help us. And God is helping us. God helping us. Because we helping myself. We helping myself. Good evening to you all and welcome to Politics 101. On Independence Day, we'll be assembling in the Republic of Buxton. The Republic of Buxton on Independence Day. A justice rally for Adriana. And we'll be there, the drums and all that stuff. And we have invited a range of speakers from the various political parties to bring messages. It's a rally organized by the WPA on Independence Day. We feel that the best way to, in 2025, the best way to commemorate our independence is to raise our voices for justice. Justice for Adriana, justice for Janae, justice for the Ronaldo, justice for all the brothers, mostly brothers, but then some sisters who have died, who were murdered. Some say 1,400, some say 400. Jack Dio said, no, all you lie is 200 and something, so he's celebrating. Your lie is not 400, 200. We'll be raising our voices for justice. Come to Buxton, liberated territory. We dare them. The last 2011 election, they got to hold a meeting, and then Buxton no man said, not here, not here. From Sarmines to all of them, I think the Jack Dio been there too. Then Buxton people said, not here, no meeting here. They broke them up. They don't broke them up by violence. They break it up. 2020, they go back for the meeting. They keep it at the roadside. They keep the little meeting, and then they beat out. Meeting just keep at line up in the middle of the village. Buxton is liberated territory. We ain't say nobody can come there and hold the meeting. Of course you can come and hold the meeting. We are welcoming people. We are welcoming people. You can come there and hold your meeting. But if you disrespect black people, you cannot come to the Black Republic. We'll give you hell. And we are a republic. We have a national anthem there in Buxton, Thou wilt not cower in the dust. Buxton, my own native land. Thy glorious name shall never rust. Buxton, my own native land. Remember Fredericks, yes we must. His Buxton scholarship, his trust. And now we slumber in the dust in Buxton, my own native land. To our illustrious line of sons and daughters who all time give of their best that we may shine. For Buxton, our own native land, the only village in the entire world that got a national anthem. That's what I was talking about last night. Nation, not the nation state. The nation, now where your nation now. We talking about the black nation, or the Indian nation, or the Amerindian nation, Portuguese nation, Chinese nation. That nation we talking about. All right? So when we sing our battle song, we call it the Buxton Battle Song. We are ready to roll. Thou wilt not cower in the dust, Buxton, my own native land. We gotta fight back, and you fight with what you have. Sometimes we are too timid. And part of it is not that black people are timid. It's the black leaders sometimes are timid. They always this and but. There's a time when but must end. Nelson Mandela, on his way to 27 years in prison, he gave a speech, an address to the court. And part of his address, he said, there comes a time in the life of a nation when you are left with but two choices: submit or demand. Vincent Alexander, a few weeks ago at the United Nations, said the time for polite silence is over. We are left with one choice now in Guyana. Those of us who love justice and love freedom, the one choice we have is to demand. And that's what we have been doing, and that's what we continue to do, despite some of our leaders who are telling us, well, black people, don't upset the thing. We can't offend Indian people. When Indian people fighting for their freedom, they get time. If they upset black man, they fight for their freedom. They're concerned about upsetting us. If fighting for your freedom upsetting somebody, then they don't like freedom. But we black people, Well, not black people, the black leaders. And we can't offend, we gonna want their vote. Well, if they can't give me the vote when I fighting for freedom, which they will enjoy, I don't want that vote. We're ready to roll, because tonight we're on a roll. Monday is going to be Independence Day. Independence. Oh, we welcome independence to Guyana. I was a little by 1966 when they had the tramping with the Larry them and the steel band, and them people, they're drinking wine. Oh, they get posy. Them posy, they were drinking wine out it. That was the taste of freedom. Apostle Young, he don't know about that. Them days. Ceasar, too young. Novella Noble, too young. Oh, we welcome independence to Guyana. Those were the days independence means something, meant something. And it still must mean something despite the desecration. And that's why we're going to Buxton on Independence Day to sign a new covenant. Because independence is a covenant. Independence is the promise, the fulfillment of the promise of emancipation. And these people, for the last 33 years, they have desecrated, or in their time about desecration, dirty. They turned the independence into stink and dirty. So we are going to Buxton on Monday to sign a new covenant. Good evening to all of you. Look, my classmate Owen McGarrell, don't worry the fancy name, Sir McGarrell, Piggies. Yeah, remember we walked to BV, is what the Duke they come by at LBI, and we walked from Buxton to LBI to go and see the Duke because the train blingy to BV, LBI. But you was a remembrance man. You're like what the poem we used to say, Piggies? Louis Bennett, me remembrance, remember. You get good remembrance, why? We walk from Buxton to BV, LBI. Ernest, you remember? You remember? When the Duke of Edinburgh, he died not a couple years ago. He come. The Piggies, you know, Sir McGarrell. Sir McGarrell and me left Buxton with Busty, a drummer. And we walk into Freedom House and said, we are soldiers for multiracialism. And we want to join your all drama group. Gail Tashir was the head of the drama group. Because we want to reach out to the other side. And we went there, we joined Workers Stage. We were in that drama group for 2-3 years. We used to go in all them Indian community and act play, as what people say, we're going act play and say poem and so on. That's why when Indian people call me racist today, I cussed them nasty last night, and I'm going to continue to cuss them nasty. Because people like Sir McGarrell and myself make sacrifices for them. Because when they say Borno were oppressing them, and they're hiding, and they can't stand up to Borno, a black man like a me, who stand up to Borno for them. And today they call me racist. Me able with you. Me able with you. Because me, four parents come from Africa, then I get cast there. Then I get cast Africa. All right? You tell her you as it is. Then I get cast Africa. And we just don't know about racism there. And we just don't get Chatri and Brahman and untouchable. We are a democratic people. That's the history that we come from. So are you coming? Are you calling me racist? Are you interfere with me? Me go interfere back with you. My guests are not responsible for what I am saying tonight because I come from the radical. You know what radical mean? the root. That's where we just go to the root. So I don't want to radicalize my guests. If they radicalize themselves, not me. They say apostle is a radical. You gotta talk for yourself. Yeah. Yes, Matthew. Shelton did not PPP. It's one of them used to Company Road. Moses Nagamutu. Jack and all them used to hide in Freedom House when the blows passing. When we say you come, it's only Moses used to Company Road and take blows. And I will get the thing for call people like a me racist who fight for you. Oh, people say, are you one? One. Anyhow, my guests are not responsible. May bring them in easy. I will keep wake tonight. I will keep wake. We have been keeping wake since Adriana dead. I will keep wake. I will keep wake tonight. I will keep wake every night. The last night you carried the big wake. Before that, I said, you're set up. You're set up. But the dead, everybody bring little cook up, little coffee, biscuit, and I will set up. They used to get dry food. Met them. But that I share 3 o'clock in the morning when the crowd gone. Teacher, you got a thing at the back there. I saw a dove there stand up so. Yeah. He funky hi. Good evening, my young comrades. My teacher, you the thing, because you gotta take up this thing, you know. I gotta take up this thing. When Ceasar, Sister Novella Noble, I saw you earlier today, walking up the poison with Simona, and I see you to be peeping you to Apostle, you walk up the poison too, and so on. Welcome to Politics 101 tonight. Oh, we welcome independence. And that was 1966. Mianga watch you. Mianga let you take out you birth certificate for show me. You know what are your face? I know last are your mama feature yet. So me know you did born. I happened to meet Novella's mother at Golden Grove, an entrepreneur. Them, and then I said, black people can't do business. Me never see them people. Me grew up with an auntie. She sell guinea, she sell dongs, she sell cherry, she sell black pudding, she sell sauce. And then she used to go and work in the Chinese kitchen. And then she decided that here I have to diversify my business. So me I'm gonna work at a Portuguese kitchen no more. But you tell me, but we can't do it. Anyhow, you all are not responsible for my radical talk. Novella, when anyhow, no, I'm not going to ask you all any question. I'm going to ask you all for an introductory statement. You know, when I would do composition in school, or whatever, say the first thing you do, your introduction. So we are in school. Novella, your introductory statement. And then we go to Ceasar. And then we go to the apostle, because he got the prayers coming there. When you heard about a preacher, oh Jesus Christ. Novella, you first. Your opening statement.
Good evening, Dr. Ines. I hope everybody can hear me, and good evening to our fellow panelists. I am so grateful again to be in community with you, Dr. Ines, and these amazing brothers that sits alongside me here tonight. I'm so grateful that you spoke about, you know, one, meeting my mother, and two, Black people, our ability to do business. I remembered as a little girl, from Golden Grove on the east coast of Demerara. And that era was the Barnum era where my mother was a trader. And she used to go to Crabwood Creek and places like Trinidad. And she would go to Suriname and she would buy. And that era was the era when Barnum had banned, because he was teaching us how to be industrious. And he had banned the foreign goods. And my mother was a trader. And she had 2 businesses in our village. So I emanate seeing my mother and father. My father was an engineer, he's retired, and my mother being a businesswoman, and me growing up and being in her tutelage and being a part of the business as a child, migrated to this country in the United States and continue to see my mother do business here in Atlanta, Georgia. Opened up first Caribbean restaurant, second Caribbean restaurant in Atlanta, banquet halls. So when they say that Black people don't know how to do business, that is a fallacy and that is not true. And it's actually pure lies. And so I want to be able to remember. I'm glad that you actually mentioned and referenced that, because to me, it was the independence of thinking. It was the independence of doing that created someone like my mom, for us as our children to emulate and to see what it is to be industrious, what it is to go out there and to reap so that we can sow. So I am so humbled to be able to join you and the panelists tonight to talk about independence, talk about critical topics, and to remind our brothers and sisters and our fellow citizens of the importance of standing up and being reliant and knowing our rights and ensuring that we actually execute those rights. Because I was grateful for a good mother and father in their upbringing, teaching us how to be industrious and to see the possibilities. We didn't just migrate to America to do it. It was emulated back home, and we had the best examples of it. So thank you for being here.
You're so welcome. Wayne Ceasar, your opening statement. You can testify too.
Yes, sure. Sure, Dr. Hines. A pleasant good evening to you. My awesome sister, Miss Novella Noble, and my brother, the Honorable Apostle Nigel Eliakim. It's always a pleasure to be on the same panel with you. Look, I'm gonna say this, Dr. Hines, this evening. First of all, I'm just honored to be here with you guys. Dr. Hines, again, thank you for having me. And the freedom fighters in the audience, there would be no program without them. So let me take the time also to recognize them. Look, as I migrated to the US quite young from Guyana, but in a way, I felt over the years, I felt guilty because I came over. Of course, you get from childhood, you get your strong Guyanese values instilled in you. So whenever you migrate to a country like the US, those values still apply. It was just all school for me once I got here. I went to college and matriculated with 4 different degrees. I went along to become a CPA. Graduated with a master's also in finance with honors. So, and all of that is based on strong Guyanese values that were instilled in me from a young age. And, one of the thing that drives me now with the activism that I am doing is that deep down inside, I feel guilty and I feel as if I owe something to my brothers and sisters back home in Guyana, because that is where it all started. And, you could become a US citizen and all these things, but, Guyana is still home. Guyana is home. All right. You don't know what can happen and you end up right back in your country of birth. So it's upon me to contribute. And I have learned a lot in Guyana. I have learned so much, the time being in Guyana that I have applied in the United States of America here. So it behooves me, to make sure that I contribute back home to my brothers and sisters, hence the reason I am here. So thank you again, Dr. Hinds.
And Apostle London, who, apart from being a man of the word, in the beginning there was that word. He's an entrepreneur. Apostle, always a pleasure, my brother.
The pleasure is always mine, Dr. Hinds, and of course, my brother and my sister. It's certainly a pleasure to the viewers as well. It is a pleasure. My introductory statement is that I'm honored to be here, one who is an apostle of the Lord Yeshua, the Messiah, and a passionate patriot. That's it. That's me.
Short and sweet. Short and sweet. The movement of Jah people, moving, always moving. We're always moving. You know, they brought us across the Middle Passage, and we are constantly moving from country to tongue, moving from Guyana to Barbados, moving from Guyana to America, and wherever we go, we take Jah with us. So, my brother Wayne, that's a Darwin story. We're moving, but when we are moving with Jah all the time. When I contacted Apostle this morning, he said, I go bush. He going into the interior, right? He been in the bush and he come back. We are constantly moving. Linden is really the coming together of the African in Guyana, all them villages from West Bobbies, go right down to West Coast, Demerara, all of them, a little bit of Denhamstel, Oaktown, Golden Grove, Nabaklis, they used to call them Bucklish, Nabaklis, Golden Grove, Nabaklis, area like Harbour, by me come out of Bucklish. Oh God, but he name with pride, he say, I was instrumental in Novella's upbringing. Ornis Elliott. Yes, Ornis.
My neighbor. I ate Ornis Elliott spot every day.
There you go.
Family.
Let me tell you about Ornis. You know, back in the days, WP and PNC fight, ding dong. We decided we're going to make up 2010, 2011. Well, we have now got Congress Place, WPA people. Said, Lord, boy, I will fight all the time. You got to go at Congress Place. At a time when in the old days, you want to pass by Congress Place. And when we start to go by Congress Place, I mean, the welcome was so warm. But I remember Ornis was at the top of that heap. He was one of the person that really welcomed us like brothers. And in short time, we forget that we were old time sparring with one another and so on. And that has always lived with me because Ornis and I have remained friends to this. This day he's in semi-retirement and his daughter is now carrying on. Well, you know, there's a family been in politics from the time in creation. His daughter is now carrying on the torch, but Ornis is a gem of a human being. Sisters and brothers, we are going to celebrate our 59th anniversary of independence. We're going to observe it on Monday. And independence is no joke. We take it for granted today, all right? And I'll tell you all a little secret. The PPP was never interested in independence as a project that was going to take us out of the plantation forever. They fought against every initiative. The first step to independence for us in the Caribbean was in 1958 when they inaugurated the West Indies Federation. It lasted for 4 years, but Guyana was not part of it. Because the PPP under Dr. Cherry Jagan said that if Guyana went into the Federation, Indian Guyanese would be a minority in a Caribbean nation. You all hear me? Me not lie. Me been there. they said that they would not take Guyana, and they did not take Guyana into the Federation because they said Indian Guyanese would become a minority in a Caribbean nation. That's why we're not part of the University of the West Indies. And it is only when Burnham came in to power, we almost became Guyana, Barbados, and St. Kitts. Almost became a nation. Almost. That was along with the little 8 in the, what we now call OECS. They ushered in Carifta, and Carifta then gave way to CARICOM. So, independence has always been iffy for the PPP. And it's no doubt that our young people, not surprising, our young people are now coming up and not having a deep sense of what independence is. You know, so them is a little carnival, jump up, and so on and so on. The PPP been encouraging that. But I want you all if people like myself are what you call the decolonization generation, that we were there as we were transitioning from colonization to independence. You all are the independence generation because you all were born after 1966. And so I would like to get your perspective on what independence means to you as an individual, as a part of a community, part of a country, part of a region, and part of a larger diaspora. Again, I start with you, Novella.
Oh, that's a very loaded question, Dr. Irons. And, just kind of coming off of my rant this morning, I think that's an interesting question to ask. What does independence mean to me? I think we can look at it I can look at it from a scientific perspective, but I'm going to look at it in terms of the current reality of what I see through the prism of what independence, what I'm experiencing, of what independence, what I'm experiencing from an independent perspective. I think independence would mean, on general terms, our ability or my ability to participate in a democratic system that works for all human beings, everybody. Independence means that I am participating in a system where it demonstrates equity, a society to where representation is provided to every humankind, regardless of your race, creed, color, sexual orientation, religious affiliation. To me, that is what I would define independence. Independence in terms of your ability to have freedom of movement, freedom of mind, the way we think, how we get to contribute in a society, that we are a stakeholder in that independent society. And we are substantially being citizens of that society where we're respected, we are valued, we can contribute to the upliftment of that society. And so when I think of independence, I think about an horizon to where every young boy and girl can realize and they can see themselves in the dream and the reality of a country, of a society that works for them. That to me is what I think when I see, or I would define independence. What I'm actually experiencing through the prism of my country, Guyana, towards independence, I see a completely paralyzed society. I see a society that marginalizes its people intentionally, surgically doing it without impunity, or with impunity, I should say, with impunity. I see a society where there are categorization of rich and poor. There is no middle class anymore. I see a society that is completely divided by race, by ethnic composition. And so what I have in my mind to be independent, or what I would define independence, it's extremely far-fetched from what I am seeing and experiencing through those loved ones that are still in, friends and family that is still in Guyana. I don't think that there is zero independence in my country. And so that is how I would define it. I would do a comparative analysis of what I believe independence is and should be versus what I'm actually experiencing being a Guyanese citizen first, because I'm a Guyanese citizen before I'm an American citizen.
Well said. When Ceasar, what does independence mean to a young man born in Plaisance? Born in Plaisance, a former plantation, and moving the exodus, moving out from Plaisance into the African diaspora, because that's where you are there in New York. You move into the African diaspora. But here you are as a Guyanese. What does independence mean to you?
Like my sister said before me, of course, is living in a democratic or a democratically structured environment, having equality, all right, or experiencing equality. There must be equity for all right. You wanna make sure also when you say equity for all, that includes like freedom of speech, the right to be educated or the right to education just like everybody else. Okay, equity means, meaning that, you should be allowed to be involved. Like, for example, we talk about business, small business, whether it's small business, large business, whatever, it should be equality across the board. It should be diversity, equity, and inclusion for all. That should be an expectation also when we talk about independence. And you also should be independent from independent from others giving you instruction that is not aligned with laws. We understand that in a democratic independent society there are going to be laws that you have to follow, and that goes across the board for everyone. But as a black man, you understand me? I want everything that applies to me must also apply to everyone else. Okay? We don't see that. Also, I would say justice for all across the board. That is what independence also includes that. Okay? And liberty. Liberty. There should always be liberty in place for everyone. What I
Liberty.
see in Guyana, what I see in Guyana right now, Dr. Hines, we have an autocratic government that is operating in a democratic framework. Okay? The framework for democracy is there. Okay? We are supposed to be a representational democracy. But we have an autocratic government that is operating within that framework of democracy. Therefore, it makes Guyana an autocracy, in my opinion. That's what we're experiencing right now after 58 years of independence. What I'm going to put and say in a nutshell here, I do not see the necessary progress that we should have been seeing after 58 years. Over to you, Dr.
Apostle, you were here with me last year.
Yes,
on
I
this
was.
independence program. And I remember vividly, you questioned the very notion of independence. You questioned the very notion of it. And that has stayed with me. And I'm telling you the reason it stayed with me. It's because all of us here are educators. You're a teacher, Novella,
Yes.
Wayne, all of us are teachers. And we are grappling today with this whole notion of critical thinking, right? And how to get our students these days to think in critical ways, to take something that may appear simple and to problematize it. And because I think our education system has not evolved into an independence education system, in the sense that we are now reading books written by Guyanese and Caribbean people, but the perspective that we take to those books is really a colonial perspective and not an independence perspective. And so I was struck when you got your teeth into that last year. And so I want you to continue from where you left off last year.
I surely will. Thank you so much, my brother. Independence to me, the more I reflect on it, means what Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham and Walter Anthony Rodney meant. I repeat, independence means to me right now what Burnham and Rodney meant. It never meant to them that some external authority can dictate your internal affairs. It never meant to them that at elections, Sarah Ann Lynch or the likes of Lillian Chatterjee, anybody could walk into any electoral station and demand or seek to dictate to what happens. It meant to them that if we're going to be free indeed of colonial rule, then we shall be free to govern ourselves. That is what it meant to them. And it shall continue to mean that to me until I see it happening in reality. Guyana is unprepared and has been unprepared for the longest while after certain generals that have passed on to really stand and continue the legacy to fight for continuous independence. So once you begin to release and relinquish certain rights to those who want to colonize you in a new way, they call neo-colonizers, you lose independence. You lose it when someone can tell you that, Granger, you better call election now. And that person is a U.S. ambassador who has no business in our political affairs, because the Vienna Convention of Treaties speaks clearly to ambassadors, diplomats staying out of political affairs, period. But she was allowed to do it because of weak leaders who did not understand Burnham and Walter Rodney's concept, or they didn't appreciate it, or they refused to acknowledge it. But I would prefer to be dead than to allow myself to be deemed independent when I rely on others to dictate to me. It wouldn't happen.
Proper talk. Proper talk. The very fact that we are here, a testimony of our viewers, and they are out in large numbers here tonight, really acknowledging what we are attempting to do here. As sons and daughters of independence, we have a duty to determine and to dictate and to define, Apostle, what our independence is.
Correct.
And it has to start from our internal experience. And we have to decide that we enable Springberry right here. That's the first thing. Are we enable Springberry here? We are sons and daughters of Africa and India and Madeira and so on. And even the indigenous people came from other parts of the Americas and came here. So we all have been transplanted here in different circumstances. But it's a transplantation that allowed us to bury our neighbor's string. As people say in my village, you're not a Boxtoner if you don't drink company water. Right? It's a nativity. That's where the independence starts. And the reason I cited that saying from Buxton, you're not Buxtoner until you drink company water, is because it speaks to that there is something that has to connect you and separate you from others, even though you are part of the larger collective, what the old time Marxists call the dialectics. You see? Now, I want us to come forward now, because and we're in school tonight. I want you all to locate the Adriana Young moment in this construct that we are calling independence. Eh? No, let me go back to come forward. There's a reason that those people who were black like us, when they walked through that plantation gate, they took the little money that they had and they bought lands and they created villages so that they could be independent of that plantation. Independence. Independent of that place. That place that from 1627 in the case of Guyana to 1838 that has sought to dehumanize us. We want to be independent of that. So independence was not a flag and a national anthem per se.
No.
It was a separation, brother, separation from the unholy
Right.
and the unjust to create a justice. You all see we're going now with Adriana, right? All right, having done the introduction, Novella, I want you know, followed by Wayne and Apostle, to locate the Adriana in this dilemma that you all have laid, all three of you all have laid out independence as a dilemma. On the one hand, it is supposed to mean this. On the other hand, it has come to mean something else. It's a bind, as old people say every day. I want you all to locate Adriana in that independence dilemma. Starting with you, Novella.
Oh, that's Dr. Ines, you are the lecturer tonight. We are the student. I'm the student tonight. And you're giving a very difficult exam. And I love it, but I don't like it. Now, that is fully loaded. The Adriana experience in the concept of independence. There are so many iterations to examine and to really interrogate. I think what comes to mind for me is the moment when Adriana's family determined that she was missing. And I'm using the concept of independence, meaning to be free of something, to be able to know that I am not bound or my freedom is being hindered. I think about the fact that when her parents found out that she was missing and they went to the hotel to inquire about her father did, and the grandmother was there. And just thinking about the word independent and knowing that this child's freedom was restricted. She was being held against her will. And there was a fight, or at least a contention. It started with a small ruckus and a dispute of saying, I am raising alarm that my child is missing. She was in a controlled environment and she goes missing. Our freedom was available in the pool. She was swimming. And then something happened where she was captured or kidnapped. and her independence was taken from her. Our freedom was taken from her. And it subsequently led to her demise and her death. And so for me, what I am literally wrestling with and grappling with per your question is like which component of the incident that I can really equate and I can create a parallel to the concept of independence. And for me, what comes to mind and what is illuminated graphically for me is knowing that a child was held against her will, and there was no way that in the concept of independence, that she was able to be freed to go back home to her parents or with her parents. And so that's the component for me that I'm struggling with when I conceptualize independence and the demise of this child.
The demise of the child and independence. You know, when mothers during the period of slavery had to watch their children being snatched away from them.
Mm-hmm.
Fathers had to witness their children and their wives raped by the slave master. And so independence must have meant for them that we turn our face sternly against that reality. And for a mother and a father in 2025 in independent Guyana, standing in front of a hotel, knowing that their child, as Novelle is saying, that child is in there and is being violated. And the state, the plantation owners are in collusion with it. Every time we hear the crack of a whip, our blood runs cold. That's what Bob Marley said. That was a crack of a whip. I saw it in the eyes of that father. I know my daughter, then they tell you all, that is a father who may not be consciously making the connection between that moment and the slave plantation, but in a real organic way was expressing the frustration of the men on the plantation. Who, my child is in there, held captive by the state. And I appear helpless. And that's why when the young people lash out, this leader did not condemn not one of them because of my sense of history. And that's why sometimes I think some of our black leaders, their shallow sense of history allows them to compromise our integrity, our dignity, and our human capacity to affirm our humanity over and over again.
And Dr. Hines, if I can just quickly
Yes.
add, you know, I think you saying that to me, it is the audacity that the state had to boldly say, as an independent nation, to a family, that we will not do anything. We know that your child has been captured, and we are going to boldface stand there. In fact, we are going to protect. We are now going to bring police officers to restrict and to prevent you from actually accessing, not even giving you the ability and the opportunity to search. It is to say, it is to me, it is the audacity of the state to look at a nation and say, I will take the independence away, and we're not going to do it in the back room. We are doing it to you in your face. And there is zero and nothing you can do about that. That is prolific for me.
We're in Ceasar.
Dr. Hines, I can look at this in a lot of, as Sister Novella said, we can look at this from a lot of different angles. But I'm going to do two very, very quickly. The parents, I thought that they demonstrated independence when the commander would have shown them that video and indicated to them that their daughter would have gotten in a vehicle and went towards Freedom Hoop, because the intention was that they were going to follow that trail. Okay. And then there was another instance also where the police told the parents, okay, we're looking for your daughter, go home. They did not. They stayed there, and not just them. They have strong neighbors. The neighbors stayed with them. The community stayed with them. So it was not just independence being demonstrated by just the parents, but also the neighbor and the community. Okay, so it was independence across the board. But where we did not see independence is when it came down to the Guyana police force. They were not independent of government. They did not do, the investigations independently. Okay, they were getting instructions from the executive. That is not good. Okay, because the executive is tied to the owner of the hotel. The executive knows the owner of the hotel. So that was a conflict of interest in itself there. And this where we run into instances where we see the lack thereof of independence in Guyana. Okay, that's yeah.
Yeah. We are joined by Dr. Adams, who had to do double duty tonight. And I'm glad you come back, because them young people banked me tonight. So me get company, Me get company, Cause them young people, the eloquence, They said tonight is an auspicious moment. But that big man will give a speech a wedding. They dress up with the Saturday best. Because you have Saturday best and Sunday best.
And Sunday best.
Sunday best for church and Saturday best for wedding. And so tonight is an auspicious moment for me to give away my daughter in marriage. And them young people kill me with language here tonight. So I'm glad you come. What we are doing is that we are interrogating independence, and you is a big scholar, so you know when you ask scholars say interrogate, what it mean. And we are trying to locate Adriana's death or murder within the context of our independence, what these young people here tonight are calling so-called independence. In effect, that's what they're saying. And so trying to ask the question, what has independence contributed or not contributed to this latest failure of independence? Me go wrong, come wrong, go wrong, come wrong. Over to you, as this young man would say.
Well, thanks, Dr. Hines, and here, and I'm happy to join this, this illustrious group of folks again. And this is my Lyndon. I've been wanting to meet him for a very long time. The guy that I'm so proud of you. You wouldn't believe it, with your honesty and everything else. Especially, in my Mati country, man, coming from Lyndon, I'm really tight and connected to some. I watch you all the time. Every one of your before I go to bed at night, there's some of the videos that I look at, and yours is one of them. So keep up the good work.
I'm grateful. Thank you, sir.
And just let me know, whatever I can help. But anyway, in terms of independence means a lot of things. And so happened that I'm probably, Dr. Hines was probably in independence time too. I remember.
Little by, you had a couple years before me.
I remember when the flag was raised. And Nigel would, he would know we're at Christian Morgue, where I went to school, at the community center, the flag. And I never forget that night. And then the next day we had a big celebration at Watuka House. Bornham was there, and but independence means a lot of things. And the first thing, the number one thing it should mean, it's you're independent, meaning you let go of the shackles from your old masters. And instead of letting go of the shackles, we're being shackled again. And closer to home, and especially with when I talk about Exxon, Exxon has become our new colonizers. And in the other part of independence is, of course, the freedom and unity. Because now you're that one nation, one people, one. There's not that one this one people nonsense. So there's that those are the pillars as far as I'm concerned. You've let go of the shackles. You need to think independently. But we're going right back. We still have some colonial mentality, and then of course there is no unity in Guyana right now. That's part of independence. That's part of independence. And this you don't want a better illustration than what has happened to this young lady. Now, and I don't know if Dr. Hines, but I had to call him today. Listen to Jadio talking about the Venezuela issue. And I was so mad. The man said that all of us need to come together as one people to fight Venezuela. Now, as if, well, just by telling people that we're being threatened, it comes from the leadership. I was telling Dr. Hans the analogy that I was using was, as a cricketer, when, as a captain of a team, you can't expect that every individual of that team to somehow, want to support you as a winning team. You're the ones who've got to lead the team.
Correct.
And he is not doing that. He's not done that. They've been divisive. All throughout your entire administration, you've been divisive. But suddenly now you're under threat. You're wanting people to come and somehow gel together. That is absolute nonsense. It comes from the leadership, and we haven't had that then. And I don't know. Let him go. Let him go and get the 90% of the people who reaping the hog of the money. Let them go out there first. Let them go there first. And I bet you, I'll be willing to bet any one of you, if something happens, they will be at the back of the line, if ever in the line, because you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna got the money, they're gonna pack up and gone. So you've got 100 young black men in the lockups for nothing, telling me about terrorism. I know you want to tell me, well, everybody should get on board, regardless of politics. But that's the kind of thing. So as far as I'm concerned, at least I guess the word you used, Doc, what did you say? Maybe independence or halfway independence.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't say no.
All independence.
Well, I'm surprised they didn't say. At least they're a little bit generous. I'm surprised they didn't say no independence or something of the sort.
Well, Apostle went there. He crossed the rubric. They say, yeah.
That's why I like it. That's why I like his honesty.
He not look wrong. He go full board speed. Apostle, yes. Locate Adriana within this larger context of this independence that we are trying to make sense of here tonight.
Sure. And I'm happy that you asked me to more so now that my fellow Lindener is here. I think it's 2 against 1, 2, 3 separately. So we're good.
Girl, I was born in Linden.
Okay, listen here. So the other 2 brothers then, Dr. Hines and Wayne, now speak properly, talk proper, all right?
3-2.
Right, so be good to go here. But in remembering Adriana's situation, one that I shall never forget, and if ever I have the opportunity, Guyana will never forget. Because as the leader of the People's Movement, we are tabling or seeking to advance a cause for the Adriana Young Act to be law. Her name must never be forgotten in this country. But in reference to independence in this situation, I look at the birth of a nation outside of AA Hotel. A nation was born, a nation that looked at oppressors to say, we've had enough of this. You will go no step further, and we shall respond to the oppression because we want to be independent of your oppression. And once they did that, they noticed people clad in authority, representing the colonial masters here. They saw those clad in khaki clothing and others, and they said, even though you dress with authority, it does not supersede our concept of justice. So if you interfere with justice for us, your authority doesn't matter to us because you become an enemy of ours. All because of Adriana. A nation, minor though it may have been, was born. There was, as Dr. Adams rightly said, I'm happy he did. Londoners think like her. There was unity, which gave birth to the nation. Whether you were my friend, my brother, my cousin, my enemy, it didn't matter on that day. There was unity in that nation, and they were united for one cause, and that would have been to have justice for this little girl. But the sad part of that situation for me came when I saw what the neo or new colonizers are doing to us. They decided that it's best to divide so we can rule. And miraculously, there became situations where looting was seen. And then they said, well, it's these people who stealing your stuff. So come back to us, we'll protect you from them. And permit me to ask a simple question here. Because I asked the policeman, when have I, as a Guyanese, or you as a Guyanese, ever seen policemen capture thieves red-handed in a shop, like red-handed? They got them in this shop stealing and tell them, keep your face down. Don't look up. Don't let anybody see your face on the camera. I have never seen that. I have never seen a situation in which thieves were made to hide their faces from the public. And it begged the question, why are you hiding your faces from the public? Why is it nobody should see your face? Because divide and rule became the order of the day. And once you succeed in dividing a people, that is the instrument that has to be used to weaken the concept of independence. Because now it becomes, I need someone to protect me. I'm no longer independent. I need someone who I think likes me to protect me. And that is what I think Adriana's situation, when we consider independence, has so much potency to it. The little nurse, the young nurse lady, Nurse King, who had a private conversation. I don't like the Queen. I think the Queen is stupid. I don't like the Governor General. Oh, Massa, this girl say that she don't like you. You're a terrorist because you must hail the Queen, hail the King, and hail the fools. That's what we're living with in this country. And so I look at Adriana's situation, and from that, I draw an even greater cause to fight for independence, even within my country being deemed independent.
Apostle Nigel London here tonight. We are discussing independence. On Independence Day, on Monday, the Working People's Alliance will be holding a Justice for Adriana rally in Buxton, starting, I think, at 4 o'clock. I know at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Please come to Buxton. It's liberated territory, always liberated territory. You don't do, you do. Dead. All right? Because we bad like that. Because we drink company water. All right? So come to Buxton on Monday, and there we will observe independence. While the clowns will be in Anna Regina, making themselves clowns. Come to Buxton, where we will commune with ourselves and with our ancestors, and to talk back to the anti-independence horrors. Novella, part of what independence must always be about, is the old notion of nation building. And last week, Sister Adriana and yourself introduced that notion of nation building. And it's a concept that we take for granted. But all 5 of us here, if we look at ourselves very seriously, we are products of that initial attempt by the independence leaders to build a nation. Each of us here comes from a place that was grounded in marginalization. And the Burnhams and Adams and Barrows and Birds and Manley had a vision of what nation building was about. And it was building your human capital. Building your human capital that they spent on education, not bridges, not roads. They could have spent on that too. Burnham built the highway and so on, and he built the Harbor Bridge. But most importantly, they took us from the bosom of the ghettos and released us into the world as angels flapping our wings. And as Martin Carter would say, we come from the nigger yard of yesterday and to the world of tomorrow we turn with our strength. And those men, they were mostly men, but women were there in the phalanx at the side of them and behind them. They had the vision of what nation building was. So that these comics who telling us we can build a nation by building roads and building bridges, they have absolutely no sense from where we came. They have absolutely no sense. Professor Nettleford says we did not give the world leaning towers and skyscrapers. What we give the world is our mind. And what Burnham and Adams and Barrow and them try to is to liberate our minds so that the sons and daughters of the so-called ghetto can speak to the world and write on the canvas of the world our stories. That for me is the essence of nation building. Over to you, Sister Novella.
I don't know how I can follow that, Dr. Irons. I'm the student here tonight. I want to continue from, Sister Adriana's feedback the last time we met, and she spoke about nation building. And I think one of the things that I have been wrestling with in the concept of nation building, and I said, in order to build a nation, you need patriots to do that. That was my echo in the last time. Mm-hmm. And when I think about the genesis of nation building, I think about what is in front of us that we can see, that we are witnessing, that is completely opposite of nation building. When we have disintegrated and we have been disloyal to the basic tenets of what the pillars of what has actually made Guyana, things like our motto, one people, one nation, one destiny, and we can desecrate that and we completely tear it apart and we reconstruct it for no reason into an Indianized concept of one Guyana. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you can reconcile the concept of nation building when everything that we see in the path of destruction, it is to deconstruct and to destroy a nation that was being built. When we see the attacks on the courts, or we see the denigration of the courts, we just had 6 or 7 justices, I think, if I read it correctly, that was recently, 5, thank you, Apostle 5. I want to make sure my math is correct. That was appointed. And we still have, I think we call it in Guyana, the chancellors that have not been affirmed, right? Is that nation,
right? Chancellor.
Right. Is that nation building when we see the destruction of a critical infrastructure, a critical component of our society, like a police function that is supposed to protect and serve us? Is that nation building when we see clear injustices meted out to our citizens? So it is difficult for me to be able to synthesize and to reconcile nation building in the concept of what nation building is, when everything that we have seen, corruption, we have seen the marginalization, the abuse of citizens, people losing their jobs, they're being targeted. I don't know how you build a nation under the conditions of what we are experiencing in Guyana. So for me, that is a very difficult question for me to be able to reconcile what nation building is versus what the current state of Guyana is in the concept of nation building. I'm going to pause. Let the brighter students continue.
When you're in the front bench tonight, by nation building.
Nation building. I'm going to make this short because I am of the belief that nation building starts with the people and ends with the people. What we're seeing going on now with the PPPC is a lot of infrastructural work. That does not represent people. Infrastructure doesn't have children to send to school. Infrastructure doesn't have children to, enhance with values and these type of things, children to feed and that's people. Okay, so to me, nation building starts with people. Now, when we look at the concept of nation building starts with people, first of all, you have to have a government, a strong government, a complete government. Right now in Guyana, we are dealing with an incomplete government because the PPPC does not engage the other half of government. Remember, it is the PPPC and the opposition that comes together to form a government, right? So if we are working at the PPPC has a 1-seat majority right now in Parliament, so we are working as a halfway government right now. All right. So look, we cannot say that we're doing nation building by building one side, of the country or building the voters that have voted for the PPPC. Nation building means everyone. It has to be something that is inclusive. And in order for it to be inclusive, you need to have a complete government. So that is one area that we're already failing in. And nation building also consists of a lot of things. Educating your people. You have to have an educated people when you want to do nation building. That has to be a part of it. Okay, because the people have to understand where you're trying to go as a government. Nation building also consists of having strong government institutions. Okay, that is very, very important for government institutions to be strong, because that would be a good way to reflect the nation building to the people who would then adapt it, and then everybody would be on the same page. So Guyana is lacking in a lot of areas, and look, we could also throw in civic studies into nation building. That is something that we can include in nation building. But right now we cannot do that because like we would have spoken of earlier, the country is very, very divided in many ways, specifically from a race perspective. And this has been so for decades now. So that is something that we have to fight to eradicate, the racism that, exists in our nation before we can think of nation building, because nation building is going to take all 6 ethnic groups to be on the same page. And then we can proceed as a nation developing and everybody experiencing prosperity rather than 53% of Guyanese experiencing poverty. Over to you, Dr. Hines.
And Dr. Adams, I'm going to ask you to do something here. I will ask you to speak to nation building from the standpoint of this recent spill bill that was passed into law a couple of days ago. Is that nation building?
No, and let me I am a living example of nation building, and the Apostle Norvella, they are too young to know what Linden was, going way back when we were a colony and when we had the bauxite company. It
Dembo.
was Dembo, starting with Dembo. There was, natives such as myself could not even go past the hospital. There was a big gate there. And I went to Christianborg School, went to Mackenzie High School. And even when you go to Mackenzie High School, which is the elite high school there, we never thought that one day we could ever be like an engineer or be a staff. We used to call them staff when they used to wear white hat. Our ambition was to go get a job in the bank. And when you do that, or get a job as a clerk in an office someplace, that was our limit. And when Bornholm nationalized bauxite, that was when we started having people of our color become engineers. And that's what motivated people like myself and that generation of engineers. Or else we would not, probably an entire generation, even generation beyond it, had it not been for Bornholm to take the actions that he did. Because if he did not nationalize, we would still have Canadians and Americans who would have been still running the companies. And even the bauxite, they were destroying the environment. And getting to this bill, I remember as a young kid playing cricket, and I if the apostle know that I was the first Londoner to play cricket for Guyana.
No.
Oh, you didn't know that I was the first to play cricket for Guyana? Yeah, there were only two of us, myself and another guy named Grenville, but I was the first. I was the first to play in the youth series, and then I played on the national team, and then I got into an accident and ended up at university. But anyway, but I remember we used to be playing cricket, and you got to stop in the middle of the day because of the bauxite dust. No filters, no environmental control. The ships used to come all the way because they can't dump their garbage and stuff like that in the ocean. When they get into the Demerara River, they wash everything, oil. And so we used to be swimming in that river, tar and everything else. We used to drink tar. And so when I look at what's happening here with this oil spill bill, it's no different, because here we were colonized basically in that local community by Dembo. They ran everything. Okay. And then now you've got Exxon controlling this government, because I say they control this government because when I was at EPA, they had to toe the line, the same on unlimited liability requirement that we had. And all it says that if you have a spill, you have to pay for it. But what Exxon did, which is what major companies do, to insulate themselves from liability, they would go and get these limited liability companies as their subsidiary and child. So this company that is operating and signing all the documents is not Exxon. It's a company that has no assets to cover spill. And the contract says, by the way, that it's okay. It says that they're self-insured. So when I arrived, so that was the first question I asked. They brought the permit to me to sign. I said, wait a minute. Who's going to cover a spill if there's something? Oh, you self-insure. I said, oh, you're self-insure? Where are your assets to cover a spill? That spill in the Gulf with British Petroleum costs $145 billion US dollars. I said, where are you going to get the money? Oh, I said, well, let me tell you something. They said, what do you want me to do? I said, what do you want me to do? I want Exxon, the father who got the money, to give me a guarantee to say that they will cover whatever you can cover. Whether you want to go and buy insurance, I really don't care. That was what it's about. So I myself wrote the language in the law that says, if you want to get insurance, I really don't care if you get $1 insurance or 50 billion. Of course, there's no insurance that amount. As long as Exxon say whatever they can cover, I will cover. You making hundreds of billions of dollars, you're going to tell me that you don't want to clean up your mess. And that was what we put into the what I put in there. And I told them, you will not produce a barrel of oil unless I get that parent company guarantee. You know what they told me? They were going to go bring at the time it was Tillerson, who was in the Trump administration.
Right.
And they said they're going to bring Tillerson to talk to Granger. And I turned to the countryman. I said, you could go bring God. You could bring God. I ain't signing nothing until I get that. You know, within 2 days, they call me and tell me we got the language, we got a draft language, let me work in it. They bring it over. I finish off the language. As soon as I left, this administration decided to dump that language. And that was why you get the lawsuit from the two citizens. And they filed a lawsuit, and the victory was overwhelming. And I want to read something because this is what a judge came up. Listen to what Judge Kissoon said in the ruling. A lot of other stuff, but they say it was just. He said the language, which is the language that we wrote in, the language was expressed in clear, unambiguous terms. But listen to this here. Listen to the indictment. Such a course of action to violate the permit is made permissible only by a derelict, pliant, and submissive EPA, which has descended into a state of slumber at the critical juncture of an emerging oil sector, and has, at every juncture, engaged in a course of action to undermine and erode the terms and condition of its own permit. It's unfinished yet.
Wow.
It's unfinished. Here's what they're going to say about the government as a whole. And that the government is submissive and relegated itself to a state of laxity and abdicated its responsibility. Listen to this. Thereby putting this nation and its people in grave potential danger of calamitous disaster. That's what this is. So guess what this administration has done? They decide now. They went and appeal. This administration went all the way to the CCJ to join Exxon in appealing against its own people. So now we ain't got no coverage if we got a spill. Heaven help not only Guyana, the whole Caribbean would be washed. Trinidad down first, Venezuela would be next. And if you want to give Maduro an excuse, go wash away beach with oil. That's grounds for invasion. But so this is what you know your question is about this whole. So they're what they're trying to do now. They're trying to overturn this thing through their one seat majority. Here's what I wrote also. Here's what I wrote. I said this is a betrayal of an unrelenting assault on democracy by a skin of the teeth single seat majority, emasculating the judiciary by fiat of the party's Putin-esque authoritarianism way. Nothing was more despicably evident of this assault than the nation's chief law enforcement officer contemptuously retrying the case and berating the judge. This man went in, here it is. Everybody know where they were going. And I predicted this in an article that a letter I wrote a year ago, that this is exactly what they did. But now, it didn't even buy them, but they're appealing what they say, we're going to take care of this with this one seat majority, and we're going to go ahead. This man went in last week in the debate and went after Judge Kissoon, and the man admitted that that's exactly what the motive. Here's what Nandalal says. Nandalal says, unlimited guarantee is not an animal known to the legal world. He said, must we allow decisions to remain on record that doesn't make sense in law? This is my trying the case.
Mm-hmm.
He said it would have been highly irresponsible to leave that decision on the public record. And here's what he said. He said, this decision distorts the law of the country and no other investor will come. So this man retried the case in Parliament. So this is the autocratic behavior of these people. Here, and this is a slippery slope, fellas, because what this has done now, it has set the precedent for anything that
Yeah.
they don't agree with in court, they can go with this one seat majority and overturn it in legislation. That's what this is here. That's very dangerous, very, very dangerous.
Yes, the tyranny of the legislature, that's what they're doing. And by extension, the tyranny of the executive, because the executive controls the legislature. Apostle, your take on nation building, and then tie into that your closing thoughts, because we are running
Thank you.
very, very low on time.
Thank you so much. For me, nation building speaks to an identity. We cannot have a nation unless we are known by something or for something. And again, I say that when I believe Barnum, and even Chetty to some lesser degree, but Barnum and Walter Rodney, when they conceptualize what this whole experience should be like, Guyana would have had an identity that would never see what Dr. Adams just spoke to. Barnum ensured that as a nation, we were proud people.
Yep.
And I just want to share, because Novella touched on it earlier. Barnum had a concept, and people normally say he banned stuff. Barnum had an experience, which I share. When you go to certain nations, you are not allowed to purchase certain items. It's not even sold. So if he went to Norway and he saw the listen, in this country, I cannot purchase an item that's made somewhere else because they're known for making beer or whatever it is. He said, why can't you be the same at home? It gives you an identity. Who are we? What are we known for? And today it has flipped to a place whereby we are known for being puppets of wealthy conglomerates. Puppets. I asked a question years ago. How can a nation, an entire nation of people, earn less than a company called ExxonMobil? How can you have an entire nation of people earning much less than a single company? Burnham and Rodney would never allow that to happen under any circumstance whatsoever. Which is why the people from Boxer had to run, because he said, listen to me, you're taking our stuff out of the ground here, and we have 51%, you get 49. If you don't want it, your people will leave, but the equipment will stay. You can go, but you're not taking anything from here. So not a blade of grass started since then, but it's not here. No. And that is why I would say to people boldly that I love Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. I love Dr. Walter Rodney. Why? Because it made me, as a young man growing up, well, I didn't get to experience Rodney much, but I read about them and I experienced Burnham a lot. And as a little boy, I knew that he gave me an identity as a Guyanese.
Yep.
He did not give me fear of Guyana. He gave me an identity as a Guyanese boy. And to this day, I love my country and I love the true founding father of it, because ExxonMobil cannot escape with this. The PPP whoever tabled this and tried this nonsense should be tried for treason. And I want them to hear me when I talk like this. So they have to pray to every God they know that I don't get 24 hours to tell you to lead them, Because if you could tell me that what Dr. Adams said, and I followed it carefully because I have a degree in environmental sciences. So I said, how in the world can you tell me that a company can take the risk of destroying an entire marine ecosystem? Yeah. And I must say to them, well, all right, I understand. You're sorry. And I think we suffer and we'll all perish, but you're sorry. So go ahead and no. So nation building for me, as I hasten to close, speaks to an identity. If there's a mass of land with no one in it, it's simply a geographical space. There can be no nation without people. Hence, the greatest focus in nation building is on people. And once you build people, then you build what is truly a nation. With that said, I thank you so much for having me here. I've never been so comfortable in such a rich space of academia and intellectualism. I'm fortunate. Thank you, Dr. Hines.
But Apostle, let me just to jump on what the Apostle said just now. In terms, it goes back again. It's a people's pride
Yeah.
You know, your heart and soul. Going back again to John, you're calling today for everybody to jump on board because who you are. Born and want to have to do that. Is that
Nope.
pride of people? You don't have to beg. Everybody would have been, you know, volunteering. It's that pride of ownership of your country. We don't have that right now.
We don't have that in Novella and Wayne. You guys have 1 minute each for your closing thought.
I would say that Apostle dropped the mic, so it's a difficulty following him. But what I would say actually, you know, in order to have a nation, we've talked about the components of what is necessary. We talked about people. We talked about infrastructure and process. And I would just close by continuing to echo, in order to build a nation is that you have to be beloved of something. You have to belong to something, and that is becoming and being a patriot. It's in that identity that Apostle spoke about. It's that there is something that you love about the reason why you're following something is that I believe in that thing. And that thing is the reason why I'm believing in it is because I'm a patriot. I know that it is something that it embeds a foundation to which I can stand on and my children's children can stand on. And for me, it is becoming and being a patriot of our nation. And I think we have seen a complete disintegration and a separation of us as a nation being a patriot. I think the current government doesn't represent patriotism in all of its form. And so we will continue to not be able to continue to build a nation in the current state of where we are. You have to love your country enough. You have to belong to your country. You have to have the identity of what Apostle spoke about and be in being a patriot. We have moved and shifted significantly from the Burnham's education. I know that, you know, Dr. Hines, you toted a lot about age. I'm a 70s baby. So I had some instances and experiences with the Burnham era. And I can say that as a citizen, I continue and I will always die and be a patriot of my country, regardless of where I settle. Because patriotism brings us back to the center. It brings us back to a nation that we know and we once knew. And so I thank you so much for being with such an esteemed panel tonight. I will continue to be grateful for the knowledge that was shared here. And it only allows me to expand on my knowledge and sitting at the feet of amazing intellects to be able to continue to learn. I thank you.
Yes, Wayne, you have 11 seconds.
11? Okay, I'm going to make this quick. Okay, so we see that the government is going back to parliament. We talk about nation building, right? And one of the key things with nation building would also to be to manage your resources. Okay, we see that the government is going back to parliament for $57.7 billion after we would have just had a $1.3 trillion budget announced late January. Okay, it comes to show you, okay, that the resources of the country is being grossly mismanaged by the PPPC. Now, when we look at GPL, and I can't give the numbers right now because we don't have the time for me to break down numbers, but hey guys, join me on Over to You on Saturday, and I'm going to give a full breakdown. Dr. Adams, I know that you're invited. Apostle London, please feel free to come on to Over to You on Saturday. We're going to continue this discussion. Sister Novella and Dr. Hines, you know that you're always invited. That's my closing remarks. I can't say any more. Thank you, Dr. Hines, again.
Thank you all very much for enriching our discussion tonight. And I will see you all soon again. Thank you all very much.
All right. Thanks for.
And to you, the audience, as usual, we love you. We love you.